This is the first match on centre court. The 7-times champion Steffi Graf seeded 2. And she today plays Venus Williams, the second favourite behind Graf now for the championship. Would have graced the final, but that's the first quarter-final we'll be watching live today. We're getting a little nervous about that huge cloud right above them. But for the moment, anyway, let's go live to the centre court. As you see, the players are knocking up. And we will join, and we hope it's for a lengthy period. But we will join, for the moment, Virginia Wade and John Barrett.
Well, thank you, Desmond. We've got our fingers crossed, like you have. Haven't thrown away the weather forecast yet, but perhaps we'll have to a bit later on, because they did promise, as you say, some showers among the bright intervals. So, Steffi Graf, here she is, on very familiar territory. Like her compatriot Boris Becker, who appeared here for the last time yesterday, if we believe him this time that it will be the last time. She really has made this her home. And she's played jolly well here, Virginia, I think you'll agree, to reach this quarter-final, because she hasn't actually played a seed yet. The one she would have played was Kurtzer, of course, number 12 in the previous round, but she lost to that extraordinary young Belgian girl, Clijsters. I can never pronounce her name properly, but you'll tell me if that's wrong. But here are the other results. Vanova in the first round, De Svaart. Now that was a good one, because she was in real trouble there against the big South African woman who really gave her trouble in another year. Marariu in straight sets, Clijsters 2 and 2. Oh, and here we go again. I rather feared, Virginia, this might happen. We've been, you and I, sitting in this box a few times when this has happened.
Well, it's funny, because this is actually the first time I've been on centre court when it's rained, and I was noticing the new cover and how much lighter it is and how much more quickly they move it over. But alas, I know that it's been a long couple of days for the players. They've not known whether to disappear and relax or whether to stay around and wait. And I suppose the only thing is that you get a few hits on the grass, and then it's better not to start if you're going to stop within a few minutes.
Well, in fact, it's really only spitting, if that. It might almost have stopped, and it's only going to be a 2-minute shower. But, of course, that is enough to make a grass court a little bit slippery and dangerous. And then, of course, you have the drying off time, so it's very wise to get the covers on as fast as possible. And I certainly think that team really raced across with great skill.
Now just have a look at number 1 court, which isn't very far from centre court, obviously. No cover there, no rain there, and no players at the moment. That's Lindsay Davenport against Jana Novotná scheduled for on there, and then Henman against Peeling to follow that. So it's very localised, the showers. And we'll stay here with our commentators on centre court, because hopefully those covers will come off again pretty shortly. There's Steffi Graf's mother there sitting, waiting in expectation, like you are and like we are.
And Heinz Gunthardt, hand to mouth, pondering. Well, there's a lot to ponder today, not least because I think this is the first real test for Steffi Graf, Venus Williams, who, as we all know, has been making tremendous progress in the game, still only 19, and they're playing today for the 5th time. And the interesting thing is that the first meeting was a long time ago now, when she was only 16, the Williams lass, and Graf won that one, and she won again in Sydney at the start of this year, but she's lost twice since, in Hanover and at the Lipton. And rather curious, Virginia, the Williams sisters, of course, doing so well both as a team in doubles and in singles individually. And poor Steffi suffered a loss to Serena Williams in the final of the tournament in Indian Wells, and then the very next week she goes and loses to Venus, her opponent today. at the Lipton in the semi-finals. And of course the two Williams sisters played the first ever sisters final on tour.
Well, I think that it's very... Yes, you get a nice big hand for the groundsman. It's so strange because up in the left-hand corner of the screen is blue sunshine, and over on the right is not a very pretty cloud.
Do you remember when Steffi unfortunately lost in the first round here to Laurie McNeil, and that was a Wagnerian afternoon? Do you remember? It was cold, it was dark, and there were storm clouds, and it rained.
Mm-hmm. Well, I certainly was about to say that at least it isn't cold today, and the players were already without sweaters on or warm-ups.
And the groundsman there doing his stuff, and Chris Evert doing her stuff in the box, a little bit of research here with one of our fellow broadcasters, NBC, and wondering, as we are, if this bright period is going to be a longer one than the last, which is only about 5 minutes.
The courts get very slick amazingly quickly. You only have to have just a little spit on them and they are slippery, but of course the sun will just dry it right up. But I think one of the difficulties, as we're talking about Steffi Graf playing the Williams, either sister, is that it's like really difficult for the players to play both of them in a tournament. They're so tough, these girls, and they're so powerful that if one of the other players manages to convert a win and then they have to play the other, it's almost exclusively been exhausting for them.
Both the Williams sisters, wonderful athletes and so well trained by mum and dad. Oracene, she's here this year. I haven't seen Richard this year. Have you seen him?
No, he doesn't like to fly, so he's at home. And of course Serena was in the little mini section that Venus was in, and then she didn't come because she was feeling unwell. And so Venus has actually been... It's funny because they have been criticized a little bit for being a little bit too close to each other and not terribly outgoing towards the other players. But Venus has been lovely this year because she's been on her own and she hasn't had her playmate. She's got her mother and one of our other sisters. They're 5 altogether.
I think perhaps you ought to remind us, having been in this sort of similar situation, what is it like as a player when you have these on-off, start-stop situations? It can't be easy.
I think it's extremely difficult. In the end, John, it's really the person who has the most determination to win despite all odds that's going to come through. If you have any doubts in your self-belief or any doubts about your motivation, or if you're just getting tired because it's been a long tournament and you're just getting a little bit drained, I think those factors just come racing in when you have stops and starts. It adds another element of uncertainty. There's no question about that.
And the uncertainty remains as to the actual state of the surface of the court, and I expect Alan Mills and perhaps the head groundsman will join him. Yes, here they are. They'll just... well, perhaps they won't. Perhaps they don't have to walk out again. They'll assume that it is dry enough.
Just have to remember also that it was 2 years ago that Venus Williams encountered so many rain delays that she played her opening round on the first Saturday. So even in her few years at Wimbledon, she's already had her experience of the other side of the coin of the wonderful weather at Wimbledon.
Well, I think actually Eddie C would have done a marvellous job with the courts this year. They're all very firm, and he has a great team, and they all are allocated individual courts to care for. So there's a little bit of rivalry among the ground staff for the quality of each court, and so that's a healthy sort of competitive situation he's created, and it's made for some wonderful playing surfaces. And a great deal of research, you know, goes into the actual makeup of the turf and the growing conditions, and the Turf Research Institute up in Yorkshire help us with this. So for the second time out they come. And the nerves must be jangling a little bit in both of them. And Venus always seems to turn her chair like that so she's not distracted by looking at the crowd directly across the court, or some players turn their back on the court.
That's so funny. I was thinking the only thing that stands is the toss and what side they chose, and there was Leanne White sort of having a little chat with them before, but no more of a coin toss.
So presumably we go back to the full 5 minutes warm-up.
And probably new balls.
Hoping that this time we will complete it. Well, we've looked at Steffi Graf. Let's look now a little more at this amazing young athlete, Venus Williams, 19 years of age, and who's had marvellous progress to this quarter-final, because the match against Anna Kournikova yesterday really tested her. And that was played on court 18, where the crowds are much closer. And I think she'll relish being back here on centre court, where she started in that match against Oremans. And so just the one set lost. Like Steffi, she too has lost just one set, but they played not the same amount of time. Steffi, notoriously or famously quick in her matches, has been in play for exactly 4 hours for her winning matches, and 44 minutes longer than that it's taken Venus to reach this stage. So the playing conditions are quite pleasant, provided it doesn't rain again, because it's pleasantly warm, nice and bright overhead, and the muscles will be working and feel loose in this warmth. Not much wind to bother about, and that could be a disadvantage if the rains return. Nothing to blow the clouds away. But at least the players will be grateful that the ball won't be deflected in flight. So, Virginia, I suppose the big question here is, will Steffi be able to return arguably the best current serve in women's tennis sufficiently well to make an impact?
And to serve well enough that the other tremendous weapon of Venus Williams, which is the return of serve, is not overwhelming. Now, when the draw was originally made and Steffi was moved up to #2 seed position after winning Paris, and obviously with a remarkable record here at Wimbledon, he suddenly looked at the draw and he thought, who can really challenge her in the half? And you immediately saw Venus in her quarter, and he thought, that really is going to be the story of this side of the draw. It's been a fabulous tournament, bringing in so many new young stars into the women's game. But here we are with somebody who is thoroughbred through and through, and also playing in a very relaxed manner and very relaxed off the court. And Steffi playing against Venus, who is relatively inexperienced on the grass. I would say that there's a very, very slight edge going in Steffi's favor.
So there it is, in the chair, Leanne White from Victoria in Australia, one of the most experienced of officials travelling the world circuit. And Steffi Graf hardly needs an introduction by now. But here it is, the astonishing facts about her Grand Slam career. Steffi really is, I think, arguably the greatest of the lot, when you think that she's won 22 now Grand Slams, and that Margaret Court won 24, but 11 of those were in Australia at times when, in all conscience, the standard of play in women's tennis in those championships in Australia was not very high. She's playing here for the 14th time. She's won 7 times, and only Helen Wills with 8 and Martina Navratilova with 9 championships exceed that record at Wimbledon. So she is the most tremendous athlete, and thank goodness back to full fitness after operations with knees and ankles and all sorts of problems she's had. So now Venus Williams, who came originally from California, living now in Florida, and a world ranking of 6th. The highest has been 5. That was last year. Finalist at the US Championships. That's her best performance. She lost to Hingis there in that final. And playing here for the 3rd time. The quarter-final last year was against Novotná, 7-5, 7-6. That very tight match, I remember. So in this, her 10th only Grand Slam championship, she's played about a 5th as much in these conditions as her famous opponent. And I think the family's probably in position now. There's Oracene. And a very calm lady she is. Large family, and obviously very proud indeed of the way both sisters, Venus here and Serena, who isn't here, unfortunately had the flu and couldn't take her place in the draw. But they have really set the game alight and have brought a new dimension to women's tennis by their athleticism.
If you leave your seat, you make sure you take all your property with you.
And the blue sky is still with us.
Please make sure that it's switched on.
Two great athletes out here, two very different types of athletes. You'll find that Venus Williams takes large steps running to the ball. She's very fast forwards, maybe not quite as quick laterally. Steffi with her little familiar galloping step, very, very quick-footed.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Graf won the spin and chose to serve.
So there's a statement of intent. Choosing to serve. And on grass, where the ball bounces quickly, slides through quickly, and the serve is really a great advantage. It is important in the close endings of sets to be serving first, so you're always one ahead. I think that is the right decision. And it's the one I think you would have expected from either of them.
Very definitely.
Time.
Even if there are some breaks of serve, and as the tournament's gone on, there have been fewer because the grass has speeded up. I think you, without question, want to be leading off.
Very similar statistics on serve during these championships thus far. Steffi Graf has got in 67% of her first serves. Venus Williams 64, so it's almost identical. Steffi has been winning 77% of the ones that go in. Venus 73%. So there we are. It's a close call, really, to decide who one should suggest might prevail today. I think it's just going to be the one who finds the form. They're very evenly matched, as you would guess when you know they're 2-all in career meetings.
It's amazing how similar those statistics are. The one difference that you see is there are going to be more aces, I would imagine, from Venus Williams if she's serving well today, and her returns, which I've pointed out, she's not only has a very high percentage of returns in, but they are formidable returns, and that's what's making the difference with her against players like Hingis. She just laps up their serves.
So at the second time of asking, all ready to start. It'll be Graf to serve.
Miss Graf to serve. Play. Net first serve. Love. Love. 40 love. Game is Graf. First game.
So I wonder what Heidi Graf is thinking, how many times she sat there, Virginia, and watched her famous daughter winning all those titles.
It must be the most agonizing thing being a mother, except you have to say that if you are a tennis mother, it wouldn't be bad to have Steffi as your daughter because she wins such a high percentage of games. But Heidi Graf has really managed to stay very philosophical about it. I was just sort of curious, you know, thinking of experience on this court. Steffi obviously won the toss and elected to serve. That means that Venus would have chosen sides, and now the sun's gone in and it doesn't affect it, but a minute ago the sun was shining brightly, and at 1 o'clock, between 1 and 2, the sun is actually quite bright in your eyes. So generally speaking, you choose the side where the sun isn't, so you get your first service game on the side, the good side. So I was just thinking Venus probably is not aware enough of that at Wimbledon, and when it's cloudy, it didn't enter her thinking. But the sun is not shining at this moment, so she's not going to have any problem with that.
Miss Williams to serve.
And we'll be ready for some big guns here.
Love 15. All. Out. 30-15.
Oh, yes.
Terrific rally early in the match.
40-15.
It's the power, though, that comes off both sides that's so devastating from Venus. Venus doing the right thing,
30.
coming into the net. I mean, this time she's passed, but still it makes a statement.
Game is Williams. One game on.
And already the power from both women most apparent.
Love 15. All. $30, 15. $40, 15. Game is Graf. Miss Graf leads 2-1, first set.
Well, they call her Fraulein forehand for good reason, don't they?
It's lovely today. Steffi's forehand is quite differently produced from Venus Williams, but today she's really getting it whipping through. And already we've seen that she's having to cope with some awesome power from Venus Williams. But what she does so well, and what you have to be able to do on grass, is you have to be able to adapt with your hands. Steffi Graf's hands are always, I think, really her source of power. And already we've noticed on the forehand a couple of shots where she catches it late, but she just still manages to get her hand to come through.
Doesn't seem to me, Virginia, as if there are as many beads in the hair as there used to be. That was a problem for her, wasn't it, at the US Open?
Well, and it was wasn't it the Australian that she got a point taken away from her, which
Indeed.
Which was a little bit picky of the umpire, but I think you're right.
No breaks, 1-2.
Love. $30. 30-15.
You know, seeing a rally like that, it's so easy to take everything for granted, but they're hitting the ball so very hard and controlling it.
Forty 15. Game is Williams. Two games all.
You know, it's impossible to pick that slice. At the last minute, the racket being brought round the outside of the ball.
Steffi did so well with this next
Block 50.
forehand right there. That's a great shot, and look what she gets back as a gift. I mean, not as a gift, as a mean gift.
Oh. 15 all. Net, first serve. Fifteen 30. All.
That was an important moment. This, another.
$30, 40.
So the first chance to break the serve.
Deuce.
First serve in moments of crisis, full marks.
Advantage, Miss Graf. Game is Graf. Miss Graf leads 3-2, first set.
And I think, Virginia, you know, the quality of play and driving particularly is so very good that it is easy to take it for granted, isn't it?
They're both hitting the ball so well. We're thinking of playing against somebody with a huge serve, and this was on Venus's serve. She serves, look at that, and good stretch up. She serves a lovely serve out to the forehand here, and this return of Steffi's is like a whip. You admiring it, and this one, Steffi is pushed getting over there, but manages to control it and sneak one down the line, which is actually, I think, a very good shot of hers. Now, hustle, hustle, hustle. This rally kept going on a bit, and it's Venus who will get the chance to come into the net. That was the shot where Steffi's hands helped her out. So Here comes Venus. Now, Venus says that her favorite shot, strangely enough, is the overhead, and all of us really consider that it's one of her weakest shots. You can see she didn't really quite get back for that. And it was a good lob, but it was a shot that she should have made.
Net, second serve.
Oh, yes.
Venus has tried to throw in the kick serve, but that time it was a second serve and it was a little bit short. Steffi really moved well to that one.
Oh! 15 all.
Oh, unlucky.
15-30.
Steffi seeming to adjust a little bit to the kick serve, but terrific luck there. The ball just dying.
All. $30-40.
Two net chords in a row. And a break point for Steffi, a chance for a wonderful forehand.
Game is Graf. Miss Graf leads 4 games to 2.
So given just the one opportunity, she takes it, having saved a break point on her own previous service game.
Love 15.
Such a pity.
15 all.
Another of those hair-raising rallies, and the opportunity just missed.
$15-30. 30 all. Thirty, 40. Cheers.
Trying to break down the backhand side.
Advantage, Miss Williams.
So the aggressive Williams volley getting a second break point.
Cheers.
Just a towel required. Quite a hot day on court. A little bit humid.
Advantage, Miss Williams.
And that time making no mistake with that leap for the overhead. And a third chance.
Cheers.
The whole key in a match like this is whether you can come up with the goods on a tough point, clean as a whistle.
Advantage, Miss Graf.
This will tell you how important it was to her, that rally.
Game is Graf. New balls, please. Miss Graf leads 5-2, first set.
Well, she's done so well to defend those break points. 3 in the last game, 1 in the service game before that. When you're playing somebody like Steffi and she's able to pull these things out, does it become a factor that, you know, goodness, I'm never going to break. How am I ever going to do it?
I thought that when I looked at Venus's face when she missed the second break point, I thought she suddenly looked a little depressed and frustrated. And obviously that is one of the things that happens. You have to try so hard not to let it get to you. And that last ball which she mishit, I mean, she really looked a little bit mystified by it. Basically, it's just terrific tennis. The one thing that I'm querying Venus about, and I know that she's got good reason to do it, is she's mixing up her serve a lot and putting in a lot of kick serves, but I feel that Steffi's adjusting, beginning to read them. Now, if she starts blasting in those big serves of hers, which she might start doing, I think that she can just win so many easy points just purely by the power. It's only one service break, but it's 2-5 down.
Change of balls.
Love. All.
Steffi was flying as she hit that forehand.
$30-15. All. $40-30.
There was a very well played point by the server coming in, handling a low volley.
Cheers.
So if you look there at the bottom line left, only 22% of second serves is Williams winning. Lesson, get the first one in.
Advantage, Miss Graf.
And wonderful counter hitting by Graf, forced the error. Set point.
Deuce. Advantage, Miss Graf.
Ooh, that was close.
Steffi doing well to throw up some lobs. That one wasn't that deep. A little lucky to have Venus miss it by a hair. Second break point, set point.
Game of first set, Miss Graf, 6 games to 2.
And the sustained applause for that 32-minute set, 33 minutes now, of the highest quality. Some of the
Second
driving,
set.
quite spectacular. So 6-2, second set, Graf to serve.
Love. All. Net first serve. Oh. 30-15. Oh. 40-15.
Clever use of angle there by Graf, dragging Williams really wide, which is perhaps where she is most vulnerable.
Game is Graf. First game, second set. First set, Miss Graf.
Virginia, she's serving so well as playing those ground strokes with great power.
Well, Steffi, I think, is right in a zone at the moment. You remember when she played so well in Paris in the final against Hingis, she went through a stage where it just looked as if she was totally in sync with the ball and with everything. And in fact, she said that at this moment she looks like this. Obviously, if there's going to be a nervous patch at some stage. Just as a curious statistic, this one. Williams has, as we've seen, has come into the net quite frequently and been getting better from the net. So she's pretty even on the serve and shots from the baseline and the net. But Steffi, she doesn't need to come in the net, does she, when she hits 26 winners from the baseline?
It's curious that, isn't it? We're always saying, you know, she makes such wonderful openings. Why doesn't she take advantage of them by coming in? She doesn't need to.
In this particular match, I don't think she does need to, because Venus has got so much power. She keeps the ball low. It's always been against people who retrieve well and lift the ball that you think Steffi should finish the point off that way. Venus still has yet to really hit her stride in this match.
Love 1 second set.
Love. 15 all.
A string of great forehands from Steffi, which just makes me think that she's being allowed to see too many forehands.
$30-15. $40-15. Game, Miss Williams. One game all.
So, a very necessary morale booster there. Remember, she'd lost 5 games in a row.
Venus volleys well.
Love 15.
Steffi chose to take that on her backhand. I was sort of surprised. I thought she could have scampered round and hit it on the forehand. And the volley is just too well played.
$15 all. 15-30.
Taken by surprise there.
Oh!
All. $30-40.
So terrific defence there from Williams, and it's worthy of a break point.
Juice.
Just cannot make that extra point. 5 now she's had.
And that one was an error from her. Steffi has played extremely well on the big points.
Advantage, Miss Graf.
Oh, that's brilliant.
We just thought that this
Yes.
was the wrong place to put this because Venus is so fast and she's got such a good reach. She hits the ball well on the run to the forehand. Wonderful, wonderful pass from her.
Net. First serve. Advantage, Miss Graf.
Can't quite string them together.
Game is Graf. Miss Graf leads 2-1, second set, and by 1 set to love.
It's a super match, as forecast. Now we're open up for tennis also on BBC One right now, and that's the match there, with Lindsay Davenport having taken the first set against the reigning champion. but it's back with service in the second set, as you can see. And later on that court, after that match, it'll be Tim Henman against Cedric Pearling. That'll be on BBC One. Now, the young lady who beat Martina Hingis has dropped the first set to Alexandra Stevenson. These are the two teenagers who came through qualifying, of course. Court 18, Natalia Tauzia, the finalist of last year, seems to be going with service against Mariana Lucic, another of the non-seeds in the ladies' quarterfinals. And we go back to this splendid match on centre court.
A little bit of sustenance she's taken with Steffi. And the crowd here now really warming to these two. It's been the most wonderful exhibition of controlled power from the back of the court from both of them, but Williams just breaking down rather too often.
Love.
I think this is quite a revealing statistic today, because she's had a few opportunities and then just not been able quite to take them through errors, Williams.
All. .30.
And Steffi still returning serve so well. She has not missed a return on a second serve. That's quite remarkable.
All.
You knew that would happen, but that's the second serve that she's missed.
It was exactly 100% before that shot.
Just
30,
watch Steffi after she hits this ball. She's jumping up and down with glee. What a fabulous shot.
Cheers.
Ah, well played.
Advantage.
It's another beautiful top spin from Steffi, but this one's a little bit high, and Venus has learnt from the previous one and was ready to intercept that.
Net first serve.
Wonderful
Venus
tennis.
Williams. Two games all.
Well, this is vintage stuff, it really is, and finding the way to the net a couple of times there. And here's a man who knows a bit about fitness, Glenn Hoddle there, in the middle of your picture. And at the right, Bernard Gallagher there, a little further to the left. The 1950 champion is there too, Budge Petty. So a lot of distinguished folk here today.
15 love. Fifteen all.
Wasn't a bad serve,
15-30.
but it stood up a touch, and that is what happens when Venus gets a chance to nail a return.
Incredible rally.
15-40.
And the recovery shots from Williams were so deep. I think Graf thought she'd hit two winners there. Two break points together.
It's been the story of Steffi Graf so far, recovering when she's in trouble, but this time she's got two consecutive break points to defend, and there's some spits of rain coming down.
Venus Williams. Miss Williams leads 3-2, second set, first set, Miss Graf.
So up the seventh
Ladies
time
and
of
gentlemen,
asking.
play is suspended.
Play suspended, but the seventh break point it was on which Venus Williams broke for the first time today, and that'll restore her spirits as they move off to the locker room. And of course, although coaching is not allowed on court, when you leave the court, then there's no rule about not meeting up again with your coach and your advisors, so she'll be able to talk to Mum, Venus, and Steffi to Heinz Gundhardt.
Well, that's right. If you take a bathroom break, you're not allowed to talk to anybody. In a rain delay, you can talk. It just seemed to me, though, John, that what was happening in this match was that Venus was bound to start getting a little bit better. The adrenaline was pumping harder. She was a bit more determined. She had been frustrated by making a few wild errors, actually, on big points. And it just seemed to me that she would start getting better, and if Steffi tightened up in the slightest, she would get a break. Bad timing for Steffi Graf. At least she's got a little time to go and think about it, though.
And of course, when you've been on song as she was, superbly defending well, counter-hitting brilliantly against some really pounding drives from Williams, when you've been playing at that level, it's so easy just to fall off it. And she's got all the hard work to do again when she comes back. It's almost like restarting the match.
It's been a tremendous tennis. It's been very interesting. I find it quite amazing that Steffi has managed to run around as many shots and hit forehands as she has. But you see, Venus was a little frustrated by the backhand too. The backhand on grass from Graf just sizzles through. And of course that's with the grips that Venus has, that's quite hard to get under the ball.
So it's been the story of the second week, sadly. And the good folk here determined to stay it out. So it's 3-2. Williams has just broken for the very first time today in the second set to be one break ahead, but one set behind.
Well, it's a nuisance, I know, but we're going to continue with tennis for you.
Love. .40-15.
And both have rediscovered their timing immediately.
.40-30. Correction, replay the point.
An overall by Leanne White, which surprises, shocks even, Steffi Graf.
But it seemed that the overall came after there was some chalk that came up or paint that came up.
You saw it clearly?
Quite right, Leanne White. Right on the line it was. Good overall.
40-30. Miss Williams leads 4-2.
A lot of muttering going on there, but Leanne White absolutely correct in that overall. His service break has been consolidated. 2-4.
Love. All. .30.
So the shine for the moment has just gone off her forehand, which is quite serious.
15-40.
This time, Steffi Graf gets her own back. This ball looks as if it's going to go out, but it lands right smack on the back of the line.
Cheers.
And a hugely important point psychologically, a great battle of wills going on here.
Advantage, Miss Williams.
Tremendous aggression there from Williams.
Game, Miss Williams. Miss Williams leads 5-2, second set. First set, Miss Graf.
Well, Desmond, really, this has been the most wonderful resumption. Remember, it was 3-2 when we were last here. Williams held her serve for 4-2 and has just broken. Graf now leads 5-3, but there was a very controversial point with Graf at the far end, and I think, Virginia, we ought to see it again. Here it is.
Well, Venus had been 40 love up on this game, and now it was 40-30, so it was called out. Steffi doesn't really hit it properly, and the umpire overrules it, and Steffi was very annoyed at that overrule. She thought it was clearly out. The replay thinks that the replay makes us think that it was clearly in, and it stood as in, and then Venus won the game. And it's just like the first set, only a little bit of the reverse. Venus has just won 4 games in a row from 2-all, and it was Steffi Graf in the first set who won 4 games in a row to close that set out. Or it's actually 4 games from 2-1 to Graf. Venus getting better all the time.
Serving to make it 1-all.
Love.
And since the resumption, the forehand has been a little bit wayward, a few errors.
Oh! 15-all. 15-30.
Well, it would be a pity if she were to waver here. Her first double fault.
$15-40.
So perhaps the prospect of levelling matches against such an illustrious opponent is getting to her.
Game is Graf. New balls, please. Miss Williams leads 5-3. Ladies and gentlemen, as a courtesy to the players, could you please switch off your mobile telephones? Thank you.
Though perhaps not that serious in that she was 2 breaks ahead. She's still with the serving advantage when next she serves for the set, unless of course she can break here.
Throughout the match, Venus has been hitting wonderful
Block 15.
power and a lot to Steffi's forehand, but she just seems to be generating more and more.
Net first serve.
Oh, that is glorious. Over the high part of the net.
Love 30.
This is the hardest thing to cope with against Venus because on the run, she hits the down-the-line shots so well. Steffi's chance.
30.
Oh, she's missed. That was careless.
15-40.
2 set points.
$30-40.
Yes, 1-all.
In the second set, Miss Williams, 6-3. 1-7.
So Virginia, after an hour and 9 minutes of actual play, 1-all, and still leaden skies overhead, I'm afraid. Let's hope we don't get any more rain. But what a wonderful series of games she's played, getting better and better at guessing where the Graf fast drives are going. Some of her recovery shots, remarkable.
Absolutely tremendous. John, what she does so well when she's running wide is she has these tremendously long legs and long arms, so she's got a great range. She's 4 inches taller than Steffi, But if you add that to the long arms and legs, I think it probably adds up to a bit more. But she stabilizes herself so well before she tees off, on especially the down-the-line forehand. So it's very difficult to know how to play her both sides. She thumps the ball a ton.
Well, that's what was forecast, I'm afraid, the threat of further rain.
Final set.
Set all Williams to open the final set.
Love. Love.
Silently, they sit and suffer.
Love. Net first serve.
Spots of rain, I see.
Games Williams. First game, final set.
Well, this is a wonderful performance from Venus Williams, who was being outplayed basically for a set, but has turned it round. And here's the man with all the worries. One eye on the court and the other on the sky.
Well, I'm sure they would rather carry on, but it's just in between, isn't it? The courts get slick so quickly. But John, you know, right at the beginning of the match, I was saying that Venus Williams seemed to be endeavoring to mix up her serve, and she was throwing in a lot of spin serves, and I was wondering about that. I was thinking, why doesn't she pull out her big gun, and even if she misses a few...
Ladies and gentlemen, play is suspended.
That's it.
Well, all too familiar, these scenes, I'm afraid. We'll see how quickly the team can do their job. There was a lovely moment the other day when John McEnroe was nearly swept under the court cover on court one. We thought we were going to lose him. But what a sad sight this is. And such a wonderful, wonderful tennis match. Full of great ground stroke play, wonderful serving from Williams, particularly of late, and all in suspense once more. So there's going to be another burst and another difficulty for them knowing what to do in the locker room, Virginia.
Very difficult, but just continuing what I thought was happening was suddenly Venus did start going for her big serve, her big guns, and although she hasn't hit that many first serves, and she gets so many free points, and it's now looking as if it's going in her favor.
Had some play on all those three occasions. So let's show you what happened while they came back for the third visit. It's a set all in that match, and here's Steffi Graf serving at love 1.
Love.
First ball in after the gap of an hour and a half.
30 love. Love.
Well, probably feeling a bit better about life. She lost her previous 3 service games before they left the court. Well, very late call.
Game is wild. One game all.
So starting this 3rd stanza very well, Steffi Graf. Seems to have regrouped.
Love 15. All.
Strikes me that she's decided in the game, probably talking to Heinz Guntard, really to go for a forehand again. It became a bit iffy in the last period.
That slice backhand of Venus looked as if it was never going to creep over the net.
All.
One feels a bit sorry for Venus Williams because she created the momentum at the time of the last break.
$30. Miss Williams leads 2 games to 1, final set.
And after a slow start on the resumption, it seems to me, Virginia, that one rally has brought her back into contention.
Just seeing Venus breathing a little bit more deeply there shows that she had to run around a bit. The forehand down the line is ever such a great shot. Steffi tries to slice heavier and more heavily. Look at this one. This next one is so low. But now she couldn't quite release on that forehand, and that basically cost her the advantage on the point. And now it's all over. Every now and then you just see the balls flashing off Venus's racket, and she's a little bit more willing to go for her shots when she gets tense than Steffi is. Great picture that. Venus in full flight. She moves forward so well.
I thought, Virginia, that Graf had started so fast. See if she can keep the momentum going that she created in her last service game.
Love.
I hardly dare mention it, but I think it's drizzling again.
All.
Very anxious Alan Mills and groundsman there, Eddie Seward, surveying the weather above. It is drizzling. 15 all.
A series of remarkably good shots. Unfortunately, the point ended with the merest miss. This is the shot she hit so well on the run. Just jerked a touch on that.
Inevitable. And what a pity. Such wonderful tennis, that last rally. Hardly credible the way they're hitting the ball at such pace and moving so fast. And all interrupted once again.
Dazzling tennis. The whole match has been filled with just tremendous responses. Power beaten by more power, but what's happened then is that they are going to have to wait longer the next time they come on because the court got a little wet.
Against Venus Williams. They're just in the warm-up at the moment. That's the score as it stands. Graf is serving 1-2 down and at 40-15. So let's join our commentators, Virginia Wade and John Barrett.
Well, thank you. So we've got our fingers crossed here in the commentary box on centre court, because this will be the 4th bite at this elusive cherry. And really, it is a very difficult experience for both women to have had these delays. Perhaps I could tell those of you who weren't fortunate enough to see the opening stages of the match how it all unfolded. We had a 54-minute spell of play at the start of the afternoon, and in one set in the first set with 2 breaks of serve. Graf, looking very commanding, won it 6-2 after just over half an hour. And then it had got to 3-1 to Williams. She'd just broken Graf for the first time in the match in the second set when the rains came for the first time. So that was 54 minutes. They came back after a gap, I think it was something like 63 minutes, and completed that set. And I have to say, Williams then was playing quite beautifully. She broke Graf's 2 next service games, though she did drop her own, and that was therefore 6-3 after just about an hour and 9 minutes. And we'd played the first game of the final set. Williams held to love, and then were driven from the court again by more rain. So here we are back after another gap, this time about 2.5 hours, and we're hoping that we'll be able to complete the business. And these good folk, well, they've been doing Mexican waves, and they've been doing all sorts of other things with umbrellas and twiddling them round and bobbing them up and down in an umbrella Mexican wave. All very good-natured, and one marvels, Virginia, at the fortitude of the British sports fan. Not just here at tennis, of course, but cricket, you name it. We have to suffer, don't we?
It is incredible, isn't it? They are loyal. No question about it. And
Ladies and gentlemen,
what I imagine is that gradually, as the news filters through that court number 1 is not having the singles on, those people will come in here, because there's obviously going to be quite a few empty seats. So I would imagine the centre court will fill up.
They'll be buying, of course, those return tickets, the proceeds from which all go to charity. I think there are 4 charities this year designated, among them Sparks and the Women's Voluntary Service, which is celebrating an anniversary. £30,000 was raised for charities last year, and the way things are going, I think that figure may be exceeded this year.
Yeah, it's a terrific system. But talking to friends of mine who were here too, they say, well, you know, it's just so wonderful being at Wimbledon, and it's too bad if it rains, but it's still a lovely experience. It will certainly be a much better experience for the organising committee if they get some of these matches through.
Well, now, who is it going to affect the more, do you think, that gap?
One would assume that it would affect Steffi, because
practice balls in, please.
Physically you would think that she wouldn't recover quite as quickly. Venus, I have to say, has been very relaxed. She just seems to tune out very nicely and keep herself semi-occupied. Though in fact they were both watching some of the match when it came back on television, which I was amazed. But then I began to think, well, probably it's a good idea, because that gets them sort of back into it, because that, of course, is the hardest thing when you've been having so many exits from the court, is knowing where you are with the momentum of the match.
And certainly the match itself was quite glorious. The quality of shot making from both of them was quite breathtaking. The power, the depth of the drives, the sharp angles they found, both of them, particularly on the forehand from Williams, and the backhand slice cross court from Graf, were remarkable. Changing the balls, well, now that, for those of you who don't see these things very often, they take off the practice balls and resume with the balls that were in play when the match was suspended. And in the chair is Leanne White from Australia. She'll call them all to order. So just to remind you, 40-15, Graf, 1-2
40-15
in the final set.
Game is gone. Two games all.
Resuming where they left off. Great power, great accuracy.
Net first serve.
No!
15 love.
Wonderful applause for this rally. The ball's coming so hard and so deep. Venus doing so well to scoop them up. Took a little guts to produce that little drop volley.
Fifteen 30.
Yes, well played.
All.
Well, Graf, I feel, missed a chance there because the serve was so very short. She could well have come in behind it, behind a return.
Forty 30. Cheers.
Venus using the slice serve there to good
Advantage
effect,
Miss
gets an easy ball, and this is her favorite shot. is trying to do some different things here, but the whole rally was absolutely sensational. It looked as if she would go to the open court. What a brilliant volley. Every point filled with great shots.
Advantage, Miss Graf.
So a forced error, really, the power of that drive, forcing the error from Williams. And a break point.
Miss Graf leads 3 games to 2, final set.
And Virginia, the intensity out there is just remarkable.
And the fabulous tennis. I mean, it's just absolutely remarkable that these two have not missed a beat. Every time they've come back onto the court, they've just left, regained where they left off. Tremendous pace, accuracy. Let's have a look at this last point. Steffi, that whip return. She's been trying to hit some shorter angles on the forehand side. If she hasn't been hitting her favorite slightly inside out shot, but there's the forehand cross court. Now we're going to hit one of her classic slices. Court is staying a tiny bit lower than it was, but I was just thinking how well Venus picked that up because it was a low bounce. And finally, Steffi has one more shot in her pocket than Venus.
And Venus striving this year to go one better than last when it was Novotná who beat her in this very round.
Love. All. Net first serve.
64. Went down heavily on her knee.
15-30.
It was an interesting rally altogether. It's Venus who has been very good at the net, but she moves the wrong way there and has to change direction. Steffi had a chance to pass her on that.
All.
She's the sort of player who does get a lot of let balls because she hits so low over the net, particularly the slice backhand. Well, now, the unexpected nature of that drop shot was the
40-30.
was the shot of a true champion, pulling it out from somewhere from deep in the memory bank. Of course, remembering that her opponent had slipped. It's a very smart move.
Deuce.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Venus has such a terrific return of serve. But
Advantage,
the
Miss
volley
Williams.
has been excellent as well. She's so intimidating on the return of serve.
Deuce.
And when she'd lost earlier in the day to Lindsay Davenport, the reigning champion, Jana Novotná told Sue Barker that she felt that the winner of this quarter-final you're watching might well take the title this year. On this standard we're seeing now, she could be right.
Advantage, Miss Williams. Deuce.
And the agonized look, absolutely understandable. She created the opening. Oracene, mum there, left of your picture. And that's her sister there too.
Advantage, Miss Williams.
A third break point in a row.
Deuce.
Venus keeps putting pressure on Steffi by trying to come into the net. Didn't manage at that time. Gasping at every shot. There is an opening down there.
Advantage, Miss Graf.
With the long arm of Venus, though, it was not much of an opening to pass her.
Game is gone. Miss Graf leads 4 games to 2.
So quite breathtaking tennis we're seeing here.
Fifteen love. Love. 30-15.
And certainly the luck in terms of net chords favouring Steffi Graf at the moment.
It's actually
40-15.
a clever late lob. Shallow one that can be awkward, but look at the leap from Venus. Wonderful.
Game is Williams. Miss Graf leads 4-3, final set.
And Virginia, when they walked out here today, you know, I felt Steffi had something to prove, having lost the last 2 occasions they've met, and both this year after beating Williams at the very start of the year. So we're better than on her own stage, where she's won the title 7 times, and now she has the chance to do it.
Well, she certainly has, except that, you know, it's only a couple of minutes since she was involved in that long service game, her previous service game, when she was 3 break points down. Venus a little bit unlucky not to convert those breaks. But I do agree with you, John. Centre court has been so kind to Steffi Graf. Or let's say that she is such a brilliant player that she has dominated it to such an extent. So that experience helps, and she's earned the respect of the crowd. As in Paris, when the crowd made such a huge contributing factor in a final against Hingis. Listen to it here. It's just one service break ahead in this final set. 4-3.
Love.
Incredible speed around the court. She really deserved to win this one. She hits it perfectly. Oh, how much closer could it have been?
Love. Game is Graf. New balls, please.
And with this pulverizing
Graf
forehand
leads 5 games to 3.
deep into the corner, she puts herself within 4 points of a 10th semi-final at Wimbledon. New balls, 3-5.
Love. All. Ladies and gentlemen, just as a reminder, please, no flash photography during play. Thank you. (30-15). 40-30. Miss Graf leads 5-4, final set.
And as Graf will find, I think, not over yet with Williams in this mood, but how well she turned the tables in this rally, Virginia.
Oh, look at this rally, the power there. She does well to get that. Steffi Graf is hanging in for dear life at this stage. Now she's got herself back a little bit more in the rally, but here's a great shot. Look at this one. How does Steffi Graf get there? How does she make a winning lob? I've never seen her hit this many lobs in a match. Didn't know she could do it. Magnificent.
And they both lifted themselves to a new dimension, really, in this wonderful match. Now listen to this as Steffi goes back to prepare to serve for the match.
Block 15.
Oh!
15 all. Fifteen 30.
Well, by such tiny margins of matches won and lost, that just over the baseline.
Net first serve. Thank you.
This point for the match.
Thank you. Game set, match Miss Graf. 2 sets to 1. 6-2, 3-6, 6-4.
the sheer exhilaration of moving into the semi-finals here for the 10th time apparent for all to see. And what a tremendous tennis match that was. The highest praise can be heaped upon it without exaggeration. And Venus Williams playing her full part in the proceedings. And in some ways a little unfortunate that the first crucial break came when she'd just broken the Graf serve.
Well, Steffi's played so many great matches on the centre court, but she will enjoy the memory of that one. It was tennis worthy of a final. It was a shame that the two form players had to meet in the quarters and only one goes through, but it's Steffi Graf, the #2 seed, the French Open champion, that is through to the semi-final and on course for an 8th Wimbledon title. So Graf is through and will face the winner of the match out on court 18.
Without a doubt, yeah. Some extraordinary tennis out there.
You've played some classic matches over the years. How does that compare?
Well, I think that was definitely one of the fastest matches in terms of the way we played. I mean, I think we really were going, especially me, I was really going for my shots, and she was running down some very good shots when I almost thought, you know, the point is over, and she came back with another great shot. It was... Obviously, it was also very difficult with all the rain breaks to play that kind of tennis. I mean, it was great to be out there.
Yes, I was going to ask you that, because to maintain that standard when you were on and off, takes some doing.
Yeah, I mean, I was very surprised. I mean, also, you know, from my point that I've been able to stay pretty calm and then go out there and produce that kind of tennis.
Now, what's going on? You turn up at the French, you say you're coming to get some match practice, you win the thing. Here you are now, you've put out one of your great rivals, and you're in the semis and playing fantastic tennis.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't have a recipe for that, but I wish I would. But yeah, I'm enjoying myself very much. You know, I was obviously French has inspired me in a way, and I've been able to play the similar tennis here, and that's been great.
And you've had so many injuries over the years. There have been times when I know you've been in despair and very close to retiring. Do you feel now it's almost like a second lease of life, and therefore every minute has to be savoured?
I think I probably, because of what I've experienced in the past few years, I can feel and enjoy those moments a lot more than I used to. And I know that there were times when I didn't think, you know, I'd be sitting here right now, and so a lot of things have paid off, and I don't regret one thing that I've did.
Well, Pam, before we discuss how Venus lost it, just talking about Steffi, never thought after all the illness, the injuries, that she'd play that well again.
Well, I think 2 years ago when she missed this tournament and she had all those injuries sort of back to back, and once stated, one more injury, I'm out of it. But Steffi Graf is so professional, and she's hired a full-time physical physio. And I think that she just realizes that she still has time to win these majors, so why not give it one last shot? And
because she's won so much. A lot of people would say, when you've gone through that, why not?
Well, I saw it with Martina Navratilova, who won 9 of these championships. She won 7, it wasn't enough. She got 8, it wasn't enough. It got 9 and almost got 10. And I look at Steffi Graf at age 30 now, and I see some comparisons in their fire and their desire, although Steffi has a little bit more of that intensity, whereas Martina was a little more athletic, and you sort of looked at the way she moved and certain things. But Steffi's got those, I don't know, it's just something that comes around about once every 50 years.
And also, as Steffi, I mean, her game has changed, because when we first saw her, she wasn't playing players like Venus, the power and the serve that is today, and she's grown with it.
Well, Steffi, when she came on in the mid-'80s, she kind of started the power move in women's tennis. Not that Martina Navratilova didn't possess power and Chrissy Everett couldn't pass with some power, but just the relentless power of that forehand set a very high standard, almost like Navratilova with the physical fitness training. And now, you know, 10 or so years later, you've got a bunch of the women that can hit with the same amount of power or more. but Graf still is able to come out on top so many times in these close matches.
And Venus certainly is one of those. But talk about that game where really she lost it, that long game, 3-2.
Seventh game, third set. Venus had just lost serve, and Graf was trying to consolidate, and there were, I think, 4 break point opportunities. Venus lost it in the break points. She had 15 break points in the whole match, converted only 3, whereas Graf had 6 break points and converted 4. So clearly it's in the big points, and it's not like Venus, I thought she played some of the big points really well, had that one forehand volley, she set it up nicely and just hit it on the tape. 1 or 2 inexperienced things, because Venus, as she said in her post-match press conference, at heart she is a baseliner. She is trying to learn a style of play that really fits her athletic ability and her build on a grass court better, which is coming to net, and she won 67% of the time. She came to net 39 times.
Yeah, but we will see a lot more of Venus Williams here, and that match today really was worthy of a final.